Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Listen, let me explain. So, behind me. This is what my background is usually, obviously without this, and it's purple lights, and above it there's a curtain rail that's screwed into the wall, and I usually pull my black curtain across, and everything's great. Um, but I noticed that it's coming away from the wall, and I'm setting up a new background to kind of help the camera focus better a little bit more when I record these videos. And the curtains that I got, they're very heavy, and I didn't want to put those curtains on that pole, but I'd already taken down the old ones and thrown them away. So this is it. This is it for when do I get the thing? I think for 2 weeks. Yeah. I hope you don't mind. So if this is your first time joining me here on a Monday, it's a little bit different to my makeup videos. I basically read out your ghost stories, and usually I would create a makeup look based on a weird way to die or just a way to die, and the makeup will be inspired by that look. Here's the thing, you know what I want to do today? I just want to do a smoky eye, just a normal, basic smoky eye. That's my dream for today. I'm not wearing my rings either because my hands are a little bit swollen up for some reason. It's just not my day, but I need this video to relax and let go. Something about this light is too strong. I'm going to turn off this. That's better. I don't know what's going on there. Yeah. So sorry about that lighting change as well. Okay, let's do it. Smoky eye. I died from, I don't know, whatever. You decide. Again, I always like to mention that this series is very much based on Bailey Sarian's Murder Mystery Makeup Mondays. I'll leave a link to her channel below. So today what I want to do, I have used this already. I had to play with this yesterday. I'm going to be using the Eternal Eclipse palette from Luna Beauty. I did a blue look with this yesterday, but I do kind of want to dip into these browns and these more neutral tones in this palette. Really nice texture. I reviewed his palettes before, and I really like them. Similar texture. I have his gloss also. I did get the liquid lipstick, but it's quite a strong colour for me. So I might try mixing that with some other colours. And of course, I have a brush set. You can see they're kind of stained blue where I used them yesterday and just cleaned them this morning. So nice and sanitized. So yeah, let's just do it. Oh, if you have any ghost stories, paranormal experiences, anything weird happened to you, let me know. Send them to this email address right here and I will read them out. So yeah, okay, let's get into it. Our first story today is called The House I'd Never Been To. This is, hi Robert, I love Makeup and Ghost Story Mondays, so I thought I would share a little story with you from my childhood. Thank you so much. The memory is a little fuzzy as I was so young when it happened, but I thought it would be an interesting story to share anyway. When I was around 6 or 7, we had some relatives and friends around for a party. Nothing unusual happened, and when it got late, it was only my great uncle and his family still round. My mum and auntie started talking about their childhood, and they were talking about their old house, where they lived with my great nan. I remember listening and telling my mum I remember that house and I too have been there. She laughed and told me I couldn't have remembered. I've never been there. I told her I have, and went and drew a picture of what the old house looked like, where the furniture was, even down to what toys my mum had and what the wallpaper looked like. When I showed my mum the picture, she went a bit pale and asked me how I knew what it looked like. I just repeated that I'd seen it before. Everyone was a bit freaked out at that point, and eventually the conversation moved to the topic of my great nan, and I told my mum I'd met her too. Now, there was no way I could have met her. She passed away years before I was born. I sat there and told my mum what she looked like and even what clothes she was wearing. This is when my great uncle freaked out and left the room. Apparently, I described what she looked like when she passed away all those years ago. I don't remember much of what happened after that, but it's not been mentioned since, and my great uncle and parents refused to talk to me about it. I'd love to hear your thoughts on my story. Thank you so much for reading. Thank you so much for sending that in. Here's my thoughts. I've heard stories before. I can't remember who it was. I swear it was like a friend of a family or something. We have this place in, is it near us? I don't know. Somewhere in England. And it's like open air, and it's acres and acres of land, and they basically get really old houses, like original old houses, and move them to this place to show them. So there's houses from I don't know, like the 1700s, and there's Tudor houses and there's medieval houses. So you get to see what a normal house would have looked like at that period of time. There's a Victorian school, and these buildings have literally been lifted off the ground and taken over to this place. Anyway, this person went with her family. I can't remember who it was. And was it even the girl or the son? I can't remember. They went to this place, and with all these old houses, never been before. It's not exactly somewhere kids rush to go to, you know, this was when they were a child. And they got to this one house, and the kid was like, this, I've been in this house before. And the parents were like, well, no, because first of all, it's like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years old. And also, we've never been here before. There's no way. She was like, no, I have. And then before she went in, she described the whole house, the layout, the way it was, where the beds were, all this other stuff. Obviously, the beds have moved, but all this stuff and the layout was just as she described it. Like, it was exactly the same. So, like, what are we dealing with here then? Is it like past life shit? Or is it just like, I don't know, you know, it's difficult. And then in like previous videos, we've had stories where family members, especially grandparents, have come back and they've kind of like hung around with a child, you know, and they died before the child was born, and they like hung around with him when I was a kid. You never know. It's difficult to say. Thank you so much for sending that in. We have an audio story up next.
Hi, Robert. I'm going to get right into it. So I need to give you a little background in regards to the area I grew up in. I grew up in a rural, small South Texas town that's very near one of the major battle sites of the Texas Revolution. So weird things happen. So the first story occurs in the early 1980s when I was around 3 or 4 years old. Like any toddler, I was terrified of sleeping in the dark. So I was asleep between my parents, and I woke up because I heard someone whispering. I sat up and looked to the left over my sleeping dad towards one of the windows. We'd recently had a security light installed in the backyard, and some of the light shone through the drapes of that window. Standing right in front of the window was an older man who looked exactly like my great uncle, who is alive, and a friendly-looking older lady. I thought it was odd that I could see through them, but I wasn't afraid at all. The lady noticed that I was awake and said, "Go back to sleep, sweetie, we're just checking in." I said okay and went back to bed. I never saw him again, but often wish that I did because, listen, I neither asked for nor wanted to see this next level of BS. So in about the mid-80s, a few years later, I'm in kindergarten or first grade. During this time, my dad's working nights, so it was just me and my mom at home. I didn't want to watch the show that she was watching, so I decided to watch my dad's television in the other room. I am lying on the window seat, minding my business, when a pair of, I kid you not, disembodied feet casually strolled out of the living room, past me, and towards the kitchen. And wearing a pair of my brand new socks, I remember those socks, and after an oh hell no moment, I managed to turn off the TV, run into the den with my mom. I didn't tell her what I saw. I didn't think she'd believe me. Needless to say, that ended my late night solo television watching for years to come. Then, it was actually Christmas of 2018, we are wide awake. I am in the living room with my mom, my dad, my baby brother. We had just opened presents, and I look in my parents' bedroom going towards my mom's den. And the light is off in the bedroom, but the light is on in the den, and it shines on the connecting door. Right in front of that door, I kid you not, is a full-blown shadow person. Mind you, I am wide awake. I see him plain as day as I am looking at you on the television screen. I freak out, but I don't say anything, and the shadow person appears to freak out because it just darts away. I look all over the house, can't find anything, can't sense it, but I know what I saw. Anyway, thank you for listening. I love your channel. I love your sense of humor, and I love that you also love ghosts. Take care, and I hope you have a wonderful week.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And thank you for sending that in. Let me just start off by saying people at the window, people like figures at a window is terrifying for me. That scares me a lot. It kind of makes me think then the people at the window at the beginning, because they look like family members, were they older family members that were kind of just checking in, like family members who had passed? Or people who had just died in the area and were just being nice and, like they said, just checking in just to see if you were okay. I mean, I'd rather they didn't, personally. And as for a ghost, or like these disembodied feet just walking across the room, like, oh, just wearing your socks, everything's as normal. I don't know how you kept that one a secret. I would have had to tell someone. But here's the thing as well, I think a lot of kids don't tell their parents stuff like that because you're greeted with, oh, don't be silly, or sometimes, I mean, are you old enough to realize that actually a ghost walking through your house isn't just a scary fact of life, you know? Again, thank you so much for that story. That was great. Why is that so scary? The thought of someone just being at your window is just terrifying. So our next story today is called They Said Hello. Ooh, I don't like people go saying things. I just started watching you recently, and so far I love your videos. So ever since I was a kid, I've been experiencing plenty of ghostly activities. And for the most part, I'm pretty sure it's my grandmother doing it since she died when I was very young. I remember one day I was home alone when I was about 13. I was sitting in my kitchen, minding my own business, talking out loud to myself, / to my grandmother, about how much I wanted to see her. I said that if she's a ghost, I give her full permission to talk to me. Why would you do that? After a while, when no one answered, I gave up and just ate my food. Well, a few minutes later I heard, in an almost whisper shout, someone say, "Hey," from the living room. Of course, snapped my neck to look because I thought maybe someone broke in. But no one was around. Of course, me being a rational thinker, I was like, oh, maybe my parents or brothers are home or outside. I started to call out to them, but there was no answer. I just sat there looking around, low-key afraid to move, and then I heard it again. This time it was louder, more aggressive, but still a whisper shout. And now I was sure I heard it and knew someone was trying to communicate. I got up, went to my living room and started trying to talk to it. But no matter what I said or how long I waited, I never got another response. And to this day, I'm now 18. I've yet to hear anything, but the amount of paranormal activity has definitely shot up. Well, thank you so much for that story. Listen, if you're comfortable, send more in if you've got loads of paranormal activity. Okay, so as is custom, we have Marcus reading just one ghost story for us this week.
Hi. This first story is called Dead Fred. Hi Robert, I love your channel and your way of meshing makeup with the paranormal. When I was around 10 years old, my family moved into a very old, run-down, cheap home. My mother was single and couldn't afford much more. Shortly after moving in, my brother and sister and I started hearing creaks and the groans of the old house and would complain to my mother of the weird things going on. For example, our laundry room door would suddenly slam shut, so loud it would shake the windows, sending us screaming to our mum, and sometimes the TV would turn on and off by itself. My brother was 4 at the time and would complain about a man being in his room. In the house, we had one really long hallway that would lead to all our bedrooms. We would hear footsteps down the hallway at night, and I would often hum myself to sleep because I was afraid of hearing them. When we complained to my mum, she would call out, "Go away, Fred." I asked her, who's Fred? She told me about the house's history. The original owner, Fred, had passed away inside the home from old age. Because it was so long ago, funerals would sometimes be held at home, so Fred's funeral was held in this house. It was said that his spirit still resides here. He was known for being a prankster and a funny old man. Being stretched for cash, my mum would often work and we would stay at home with no babysitter. My grandma's house was across the street, so it wasn't that big of a deal. One day my mum went to work and my brother, sister and I piled up in my room. We were playing cards with the door shut. We always shut the door because we were afraid of seeing or hearing something in the long hallway. No one else was in the home with us this day, and while playing cards we heard 3 big knocks on my bedroom door. We froze and all the blood drained from our faces. None of us wanted to be the one to open the door. We knew we were alone and there shouldn't be anyone knocking on the door. I called out hello just in case someone had walked into the house and decided to knock on the door for some reason, but no one answered. Being kids and scared out of our minds, instead of opening the door to see who or who wasn't there, we climbed out of the large bay windows that led out of my room and onto the front porch. We ran as fast as we could to my grandma's house. We did not come back home until my mum got off work that night. All three of us were there and all three of us heard it. So we know we did not imagine the knocks. We believe it was Fred messing with us. Why do ghosts like knocking on doors? One night I woke up and heard footsteps coming down the hall. I listened to them make my way to my room and I saw a white figure pass by the door. This scared me so much that I jumped up and ran as fast as I ever had to my mum's room at the end of the hall, and as I started running I could hear something running behind me. I got to my mum's room screaming and crying, only to realise she was not there. She then came running in the room. We come to find out that my mum got up to light the gas heater in the front of the house, and it was her figure that I had seen. When I got up and took off running, she thought I was a ghost and it scared her, making her run behind me. Even though that wasn't an actual experience with Fred, we still get a good laugh about it to this day.
Well, thank you so much for sending in that story. That's terrifying. I'll tell you why ghosts knock on doors and then don't do anything. Because sometimes they're just asshole and they just want to scare you. Tell me below, if you were a ghost, right? Would you be like an asshole ghost, like haunt people? I think I would. I think I would haunt people slightly. Not like my family, just maybe people that deserve it. Or would you be like a peaceful, watching people sleep kind of ghost? All right, I'm going to stick on some lashes and we have one more story. And this is called Betsy the Westminster Ghost. So it says, "Hi Robert, I just recently found your channel and I'm in love with your ghost stories and makeup series. Thank you so much. I found you through Raw Beauty Christy and I just love the way you make your videos. So respectful and informative. Keep it up." Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Some of these events are things I experienced and others are events my friends experienced. When I was in college, I lived in a haunted dorm. Hillside is a 100-year-old plus building at Westminster College in Pennsylvania, but served as a dorm for the last 40 years or so. I've attached a picture of what it looks like when it was first built. Unfortunately, the building is unused now due to problems with mold. Betsy is the infamous ghost that lives in Hillside. She was once a student at the college. I believe she attended the school somewhere around 1915. Her story is a sad one. It said that she decided to take her own life in the dorm after discovering her sweetheart had been seeing another woman. In my sophomore year of college, I moved into Hillside with my roommate, Maggie, and of course, it just so happened that we moved into the room that was known as Betsy's room. Hillside is a huge old building. The floors are uneven, each room is oddly shaped, the pipes hiss and clank, and the paint on the walls is chipped. All the typical stuff you would expect from a 100-year-old building. But after we moved in, we kept experiencing odd things that weren't just the charm of an old building. We kept our silverware up in a cup, sitting on top of a microwave. At random times of day, the silverware would rattle in the cup. It was never while we were using the microwave or standing near it. We'd just be sitting at our desks, and we both turn around to see the silver shaking. I was very skeptical about it at first, until it started happening 5 to 10 times every day. There was simply no reason for them to shake like that. I had no explanation. Betsy would also turn on my coffee maker at random times, which was annoying. I would always have to shut it off and unplug it to be safe. Once, my roommate watched a decoration of ours flip vertically 180 degrees to sit on its head without anyone touching it. We would often hear footsteps above our room, which made no sense because above us was only a storage space. Sometimes the footsteps would travel from one end of the ceiling to the other, then move down the wall to shake our door in the frame. Another little thing Betsy liked to do was mess with our printer. It would start printing black pages at random times and never worked correctly for us. It so happens that the next year after my roommate moved out, she took the printer to her new dorm and it never acted up again. Other people experienced her typing on their computers at night and turning off their music at random times. After experiencing this stuff first and second hand, we decided our best course of action was to try to befriend Betsy. Why would he do this? When she would freak us out, we would nervously talk to her and say stuff like, Betsy, you're the best. We love you. We mostly didn't know what to do. We never felt in any danger from the little things she would do, but we did not want to get on the wrong side of her. Can't be too careful. One weekend, my roommate went to stay with her aunt. I was sleeping on our futon around 7 a.m. on a Sunday. I woke up to the crashing sound of my roommate's desk drawer being slammed shut. It woke me with a start, and I whipped around to yell at my roommate for making so much noise, only to remember she was gone. I got pretty freaked out and pulled the blanket over my head for a while before I decided to get up. My other friends had a double room, and one night while they were in their bedroom, they heard their TV crash to the ground in the other room, only to run around the corner to find that a TV was sitting neatly on the ground right in front of a stand. There's no way a TV would fall and land like this on its own. Another one of my friends that lived in Hillside came back to the dorm very late one night and was in the shared bathroom washing her face for bed. They kept radios in the bathroom and it was set to a station she liked. She knew no one else was in there with her, so she didn't worry about singing along to the radio. After rinsing her face, she looked up in the mirror to see a figure, standing 10 foot or so behind her outside the bathroom stall. She quickly stopped singing, looked down, embarrassed, thinking someone had been there with her the whole time while she was singing. When she looked back up, there was no one there, no one in the stalls, vanished. My boyfriend used to spend nights with me in our dorm in Hillside, even though it was against the rules. One night we were laying in bed just talking. My roommate was away visiting family. We shifted on the bed a bit and my boyfriend turned to look at the door for a moment. He quickly looked away and got completely quiet. I noticed a big change in the energy of the room and the whole mood has sunk, and I could tell my boyfriend was really on edge. I tried to ask what was wrong, but he tried to deny anything was wrong at first. I kept on at him about it, asking him to just tell me what was going on. He admitted to me that when he looked over at the door, he saw a woman standing in the corner staring at us in bed. We laid in bed for 10 minutes or so, too freaked out to look, but unsure what to do next. Oh, I've got a headache. It was said that Betsy prefers to show herself to men. A majority of the sightings of her have been from men visiting their sweethearts in the dorm. They always describe her the same way, wearing a white dress with pale white skin and dark bobbed hair. I felt a little on edge that whole year, but luckily Betsy seems to just like to mess around with people. She isn't vindictive, just a bit mischievous. I count myself lucky that she has been my biggest experience with ghosts, and I hope I won't ever meet some of the scary kinds of spirits others have sent in stories about. Yeah, I would agree with you there. Thank you so much for sending that story in. Now you have like some interesting stories about your college life. Well, that is it for today. This is my basic smoky eye. This is like what I would do in the like 2000s when I worked for Mac and it was Saturday night and everyone would be like, can I have a smoky eye? I'd be like, yeah. Same colours to everyone. Next. Thanks again, everyone. If you have any ghost stories, please go ahead and send them right here to this email address. We are far, far behind in months, so please do be patient waiting for yours to be read out. You can always send it in an audio version or even a video version if you want to do that. That's it. Thank you again for joining me, and I will see you very soon. Bye.